Hi everybody. This is a 2010 Camaro that we're working on now. As you can see, it's cosmetically challenged when we bought it. It has some different color fenders on it that we're going to have to repair. I know the lady who had this car, she was in an accident, so all the airbags were deployed, so we're going to have to correct all that. Had to put new headlights in it. We had to line up the bumper, the fender. Yeah, most people would run from these types of projects because it's just too costly to repair. But this is what we do. We try to look for the ugliest and the nastiest, and we bring them back to life. We take junk and make them into gems. That's why we call it junk to gems. So next week about this time, it should be nice and shiny and ready for sale. So yesterday we went ahead and sanded the complete car. You can see where my body guy has started to fill in all of the dings and dents. We want to make sure before we paint it we have as many as the dings and dents and imperfections taken out of the body. I mean, it's nothing worse than seeing a nice paint job and you have waves and imperfections all over the place. So my body guy, he does a really good job of making sure that body is nice and straight. So today we're going to be sanding. When we got the car, you can tell the hood and the fender. The reason why they look like that is because at some point the previous owner decided to replace those parts with new parts. Well, unfortunately, with the parts that they make today, if you don't put any type of protective primer or sealant over it, they're going to rust. So the brown stuff that you're seeing is rust from where it sat out in the rain. So what we're going to do after all the body work gets done, we're going to put a sealant over that, a 2-part sealant, to keep that rust from coming back. Because what I don't want is to sell the car to a customer and a year later, the rust starts coming back through my good paint. So this is where we stand today. We're going to continue sanding, and hopefully we'll get the car in primer. This is the 2010 Camaro yesterday. After we got through sanding down all the body work, we decided to go ahead and put it in primer. Now, one thing we did have to do differently on this car is we had to apply a 2-part primer to keep the rust from the previously replaced parts, the hood and the fender. We had to keep it applied a special sealant to prevent the rust from coming back through the top. So went ahead and did that, and then we used the normal primer, 2K primer, to go ahead and fill in all the dings and dents that were repaired. So this is what it looks like, and tomorrow we'll go ahead and sand the primer down and continue the rest of the prep work to get it ready to paint. So that's it. So we're in the paint booth now. We've done the final preparation on the Camaro. We're about to lay a ground coat of silver paint on top of the primer and on top of the black bumper. And by doing that, this will allow the red paint to cover more evenly the rest of the car. If we were to just put red paint on top of the primer, the color would never match. One part would always be a little bit lighter than the other part, especially on the bumper. You would definitely be able to tell the difference in the bumper and the fender. No matter how much paint you put on that bumper, without some kind of ground coat, the car will never match. So I found just through trial and error, silver, a quick coat of silver, even on this white scoop, a quick coat of silver will make it that much easier to paint the car. Now we've just got through laying a quick ground coat of silver. You don't have to lay it so heavy. You just need to, make sure you got enough of the silver metallic on top of the primer to make it give it that gives it that ability to allow the red to cover. So it's just a quick coat of silver. Now we're going to lay the base, the red. So this is the car after we've completely based it with the original color. And one thing that I was telling you guys is because we use the silver ground coat, all the parts are uniform. Everything has the same color, the same shade. We don't have any blotches in the paint. This is what it looks like after you put the clear over the base. Came out pretty good, but there's a section that I'm gonna have to redo because I got a small run in it. I wasn't paying attention, and that's the infamous run. That's what you don't want in your paint. So what I'll do is after everything dry, I'll come back later on the day, sand that. I'll have to sand the whole quarter panel out, and I'll make sure I sand that clear out. Put a little bit of paint right there, and then clear the whole thing again. And so that's not a big deal. Other than that, it came out pretty good. I am now finishing up the wet sand and buffing. If you notice, you see how that part has a nice high gloss to it in the sides, along with the hood. I've already sanded that, and I'm down to the last 4 or 5 panels. And you see what happens is we take a real fine grit sandpaper, any of the trash that we accidentally get in the paint while we're painting it, we can do a color correction by wet sand and buffing it. We'll take a real fine grit sandpaper, like a 1500, which is real fine. We sand the whole car, making sure to get all the sand and the dirt and trash out of it. And then once we go over it with the 1500, we finish it off and go back over the 1500 with a 3000 grit sandpaper. And at that point, that 3000 really feels like a sponge. And basically what it does is it takes the 1500 grit sandpaper out, so when we start buffing it, it's not that hard to buff. It'll buff fairly easy. So when we get through, the entire car is nice and shiny like that. We'll do a final polish on it, wash it, and we can put the decals back on it, and we can start on the inside. We need to put the airbags and the mirrors back on, a little miscellaneous stuff. But I'm hoping to be finished with this car by Friday or Saturday. So I just got through wet sand and buffing it last night. And you can tell that it really adds a lot of depth and gloss to the car. It was already nice and shiny, but just going that extra step, it just makes it look like a mirror. It's almost like a mirror. You can see the reflection all in that car. This gives it a lot of depth, a lot of gloss. So we almost there. We're almost there. We're about to remove the dashboard to get that airbag taken out. The easiest way for us to do it was just to take the windshield out. Since it was cracked anyway, we was gonna have to replace it. And this whole dashboard comes out with the airbag, and we'll simply put a new one in there and reset the computer, have the airbag module reprogrammed, and that should be it for this portion. So this is it, the final product of the 2010 Camaro that we've been working on for the past few weeks. We finally got all the parts put on it, got it painted, buffed it, replaced airbags, you name it, we had to do. Initially, I only budgeted for about 15 hours of shop time, but we ran way over. We probably have about 25 hours of shop time in it now. But it came out good. The paint is nice and slick on it. We got all the service lights off, so whoever buys it, it'll be nice and safe for them. Interior came out great. Interior's really good on it. You see we replaced the airbag, both of them, service lights on. So that's it. That's how it looks.